Part 1, The Hunting Exhibition Proposal. The Galactic Challenge begins. The crystal towers of the Galactic Council chamber gleamed under 3 different suns as representatives from across known space gathered for what would become the most shocking cultural exchange in galactic history. Colonel Marcus Webb adjusted his simple military uniform, feeling distinctly underdressed among the elaborate robes and biomechanical suits surrounding him. Announcing the hunt. High Counselor Vextai of the Crystalline Dominion raised 6 arms for silence. Esteemed delegates, today we announce the Great Hunting Exhibition. Each species will demonstrate their hunting prowess on the neutral world of Kepler 442b. This peaceful competition will showcase our diverse approaches to survival and resource gathering. A murmur of excitement rippled through the assembly. The Valkyrie ambassador stood, their metallic exoskeleton gleaming. The Valkyrie accept this challenge. Our quantum phase hunters can track prey through 17 dimensions simultaneously. No creature can escape our molecular-level detection systems. The Zephyrian delegate floated forward, their gaseous form shimmering with pride. Zephyrians have perfected hunting through atmospheric manipulation. We can create pressure waves that stun prey from orbit. Our success rate approaches 99.7%. The human volunteer. Colonel Webb cleared his throat. The Terran Federation would like to participate. The chamber fell silent. Several species turned their various sensory organs toward the lone human. High Counselor Vextai's crystalline features flickered with what might have been confusion. Humans? Asked Ambassador Crix of the Hive Collective, their insectoid mandibles clicking nervously. But surely your species no longer hunts? Your files indicate you have advanced agricultural systems and protein synthesis facilities. Webb smiled, and something in that expression made several nearby delegates unconsciously step backward. We do have those things, yes. But humans still hunt. We've never stopped hunting. Questioning human methods. The Valkyrie ambassador's optical sensors focused on Webb. What hunting technology will you bring? Plasma lance arrays? Gravity manipulators? Surely you have developed quantum tracking systems by now? Actually, Webb replied, his voice carrying an odd note that the translation system struggled to interpret, we were planning to use traditional methods. Bows, knives, tracking skills. You know, the basics. A wave of what could only be described as polite confusion swept through the chamber. The aquatic delegate from Hydros Prime gurgled through their translation device, "Forgive me, Colonel Webb, but did you say bows? As in, curved pieces of wood that launch small projectiles?" That's right. Along with some steel blades, rope, maybe a few other simple tools. Webb's grin widened. Nothing fancy. The galaxy's disbelief. High Counselor Vextai's crystalline form pulsed with uncertain colors. Colonel, perhaps there has been a misunderstanding. This is a serious exhibition of hunting capabilities. Species will be judged on efficiency, success rates, and technological advancement. Your proposed equipment seems primitive. The Zephyrian delegate's gaseous form swirled with what their species displayed as amusement. Surely the humans are joking? Wooden implements against the apex predators of Kepler 442b? The crystal bears alone have hide thick enough to deflect plasma bolts. Webb nodded thoughtfully. Crystal bears, you say? Interesting. What else should we expect? Armored Tunnel WYRMS, listed the Hive Collective ambassador, shadow panthers that phase between dimensions, storm eagles with electromagnetic wingspans, and the legendary frost titans. Each creature has evolved perfect defenses against energy weapons and technological detection. The Colonel's confidence. Sounds like a proper hunt, Webb said, and there was something in his tone that made the temperature in the chamber seem to drop slightly. We'll need to study the terrain first, of course. Learn the wind patterns, water sources, migration routes. Maybe spend a few days understanding their behavior. The Valkyrie ambassador's optical array whirred in confusion. Study? But surely your scanners can provide all necessary data in microseconds? Oh, we don't really use scanners for hunting, Webb replied casually. We prefer to read the signs directly. Tracks, scent markers, territorial scratches, feeding patterns. The old-fashioned way. An uncomfortable silence settled over the chamber. Finally, High Counselor Vextai spoke, their voice carrying diplomatic concern. Colonel Webb, are you certain your species wishes to participate? The other hunting parties will be using the most advanced predation technology in the galaxy. We would hate for any unfortunate incidents. Webb's smile became something that would have been perfectly familiar to any apex predator on Earth. Don't worry about us, High Counselor. Humans have been hunting successfully for a very long time. I think we'll manage just fine. Setting the stage. As the council session ended and delegates began filing out, excited chatter filled the air in dozens of languages. The consensus was clear: the humans were either incredibly brave or completely suicidal. Their primitive methods would be no match for the advanced hunting technologies of civilized species. Colonel Webb remained seated, watching the other delegates leave. His fingers drummed against the conference table in a rhythm that somehow reminded observers of a predator's heartbeat. Soon, the galaxy would learn what it really meant to be hunted by Earth's apex predators. The Great Hunting Exhibition would begin in 7 standard days. None of the alien species realized they were about to witness humanity's most terrifying capability, the patient, persistent, absolutely lethal art of the hunt. Part 2, The Gathering of Hunters. Arrival at the hunting grounds. The transport ships descended through the atmosphere of Kepler 442b like metal predators seeking prey. Huntmaster Jorik Thornfield watched through the viewport as alien vessels discharged their hunting parties onto the purple grasslands below. Each ship was a marvel of engineering, bristling with sensors and weapons that could level mountains. His own transport was a simple military shuttle, carrying nothing more than basic supplies and 5 humans who looked like they were heading for a weekend camping trip rather than a galactic hunting exhibition. The technological display. The staging area resembled a military expo more than a hunting ground. The Valkyrie had erected a crystalline command center that hummed with quantum processors. Their hunters moved in perfect formation, each wearing powered armor that made them look like walking weapons platforms. Impressive, muttered Sergeant Riley Hawkins, adjusting the leather strap on his compound bow. Look at all those blinking lights. The Zephyrian hunting party materialized as a swirling cloud of gas and energy, their forms constantly shifting as they calibrated atmospheric manipulation devices. Floating screens displayed trajectory calculations and wind pattern analyses updated in real time. The Hive Collective arrives. The Hive Collective's contribution was perhaps the most unsettling. Dozens of insectoid hunters moved in perfect synchronization, their biomechanical enhancements gleaming in the alien sunlight. Microscopic drones swarmed around them like a mechanical plague, mapping every molecule of air for potential prey signatures. Ambassador Crix approached the staging area where the humans were quietly setting up a simple camp. Greetings, Huntmaster Thornfield. We are curious about your preparations. Where are your detection arrays? Jorik's simple setup. Jorik looked up from where he was checking the string tension on his recurve bow. At 62 years old, he had the lean, weathered appearance of someone who had spent decades in the wilderness. His gray beard was neatly trimmed, and his eyes held the patient intensity of a born predator. Don't need detection arrays, he said simply, running a practiced hand along his bow's limbs. Got these. He tapped his temple with a calloused finger. The Hive ambassador's mandibles clicked in confusion. But how will you locate prey across such vast terrain? This continent spans 12,000 square kilometers of diverse biomes. Same way humans have always done it, Jorik replied, standing and shouldering his pack. The gear was almost primitive by galactic standards: a composite bow, a quiver of carbon arrows, a steel hunting knife, rope, basic first aid supplies, and a small tent. We read the land. The crystalline dominion's mockery. High Counselor Vextai materialized nearby, their crystalline form refracting the sunlight into rainbow patterns. Huntmaster, surely you jest. The crystalline dominion's hunters can scan quantum signatures from orbit. We have already located 17 major predator territories and cataloged their behavioral patterns. Your equipment appears to be several thousand years behind current standards. Jorik smiled, and there was something unsettling about the expression. Sometimes the old ways work best, Counselor. Mind if I ask what your scanners told you about that ridge? He pointed to a distant rock formation. Vextai's form pulsed as they accessed their data networks. Standard geological formation. Composed primarily of sedimentary rock with traces of crystalline deposits. No significant thermal signatures detected. Reading the natural signs. Interesting, Jorik mused, squinting at the ridge. Because those rock scratches about halfway up? Those are claw marks. Something big uses that as a territorial marker. And see how the vegetation is different on the north face? That's where it beds down during the heat of the day. He turned to face the assembled alien hunters, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had tracked everything from deer to grizzly bears across Earth's most challenging terrain. Your scanners see rock and thermal signatures. I see a predator's highway, marked with territorial claims and behavioral patterns written in the landscape itself. The Valkyrie's technological superiority. The Valkyrie hunter captains stepped forward, their metallic exoskeleton bristling with weapon ports and sensor arrays. Such primitive observation methods are quaint, human, but hardly efficient. Our quantum phase detection systems can track a single molecule of pheromone across dimensional barriers. We have already identified the optimal hunting zones. Have you now? Jorik asked, genuinely curious. And where would those be? The Valkyrie's optical sensors flashed with data streams. Grid coordinates 247.3 by 891.7. Maximum prey density detected in the valley systems. Our success probability calculations exceed 94.7%. Jorik glanced at the valley in question and shook his head. That's where they go to drink. You'll spook every animal for 50 kilometers with all that noise and energy discharge. Prey animals aren't stupid, they know the difference between predator and technology. The Zephyrian demonstration. As if to prove his point, the Zephyrian hunting party began their demonstration. The air itself seemed to come alive as they manipulated atmospheric pressure, creating visible distortions that rippled across the landscape. Their target was a herd of six-legged gazelle-like creatures grazing in a distant meadow. The pressure wave struck with devastating effectiveness. Every animal in a 2-kilometer radius fled in panic, their alarm calls echoing across the plains. The Zephyrians successfully stunned their target, but the ecological chaos they'd created would take hours to settle. Efficient, admitted Jorik, but now every predator and prey animal in the region knows exactly where you are and what you're capable of. Good luck finding anything else to hunt today. Human patience versus alien technology. The alien hunters exchanged what might have been confused glances across their various species' communication methods. The concept of stealth seemed foreign to beings who had evolved past the need for quiet hunting. Jorik shouldered his bow and began walking toward the treeline. We'll be starting our hunt now. Don't expect to see us again until tomorrow evening. Where are you going? Called Ambassador Crix. To find what we came for, Jorik replied without turning back. The real predators are up there in the mountains, watching all this commotion and deciding whether we're worth their attention. The mountains watchers. As the human hunting party disappeared into the forest, their footsteps becoming silent within minutes, the alien observers realized something unsettling. Despite all their advanced technology, they had no idea how to track the humans once they chose to vanish. High above on the ridge that Jorik had identified, something large and dangerous watched the chaos below with intelligent eyes. The crystal bear had been observing these strange visitors all morning, and it had already decided which ones posed a real threat. The ones that moved like hunters rather than walked like prey. The real hunt was about to begin. Part 3, The Silent Stalker. The Mountain Silence. Scout Ranger Tobias Kane moved through the crystalline forest like a ghost made flesh. At 38, he possessed the lean build and patient demeanor of someone who had spent 15 years tracking everything from poachers to enemy combatants across Earth's most challenging terrain. His footsteps made no sound on the purple moss that carpeted the forest floor, each movement calculated to disturb nothing. Behind him, the alien hunting parties continued their technological assault on the mountain's ecosystem. Energy weapons discharged in brilliant flashes, sensor arrays hummed with electronic searching, and atmospheric manipulators created pressure waves that sent local wildlife fleeing in terror. The crystalline beast's domain. Tobias paused beside a tree whose bark glittered with embedded crystal formations. His trained eyes read the story written in scratches and scars along the trunk. Something large had marked this territory recently, claw marks 8 inches long, placed 12 feet above the ground. The gouges were fresh, still weeping crystalline sap that caught the filtered sunlight. He knelt beside the base of the tree, studying the depression in the moss. The print was massive, nearly 2 feet across, with 6 distinct toe marks ending in razor-sharp talons. But it was the depth of the impression that told the real story. Whatever had made this track weighed at least 800 pounds and moved with deadly grace. Following the ancient trail. The tracking began in earnest. Where alien sensors failed to detect any significant prey signatures, Tobias read a highway of information written in bent twigs, disturbed moss, and the subtle chemistry of scent markers. The creature he followed was old, intelligent, and supremely confident in its domain. Every 50 meters, he paused to examine the trail more closely. Here, a tuft of crystalline fur caught on a thorn bush. There, a scrape mark where massive claws had gripped stone for purchase on a steep slope. The pattern spoke of a predator that knew these mountains intimately, moving along routes it had traveled for decades. Alien technology fails. In the valley below, the Valkyrie hunting party deployed their most advanced tracking systems. Quantum phase sensors swept the mountainside in systematic grids, searching for any thermal signature or electromagnetic disturbance that might indicate prey. Negative contact, reported their hunter captain through the comm channels. Sensors show only standard geological formations and basic vegetation. No significant life signs detected above minimal threshold. The Zephyrian hunters were having similar difficulties. Their atmospheric manipulation allowed them to detect chemical traces in the air, but the mountain's complex wind pattern scattered scent molecules before their sensors could analyze them effectively. The predator's intelligence. Tobias found the creature's resting place in a natural cave formation overlooking the valley. The depression in the crystalline sand was still warm, shaped by a body that had lain there for hours watching the alien hunting parties below. Intelligent eyes had observed their noisy approach, catalogued their weaknesses, and made tactical decisions. He smiled grimly as he examined the cave entrance. Claw marks scored the walls in deliberate patterns, not random scratches, but purposeful markings. The creature was communicating, marking its territory with symbols that spoke of intelligence far beyond simple animal instinct. Reading the hunter's mind. The trail led deeper into the mountains, following ancient game paths that wound between crystal formations and thermal vents. Tobias moved with infinite patience, stopping frequently to listen and observe. His quarry was somewhere ahead, and it knew it was being followed. Unlike the aliens with their electronic noise and energy signatures, Tobias represented something the crystal beast had never encountered, a predator that moved with its own silence and cunning. The dynamic had shifted from hunter and prey to a deadly game between two apex predators. The crystalline bear emerges. The attack came without warning. One moment Tobias was examining fresh claw marks on a crystal outcrop, the next he was diving sideways as 800 pounds of crystalline fury erupted from concealment behind a boulder formation. The crystal bear was magnificent and terrifying. Its fur sparkled with embedded mineral formations that provided natural armor, while its eyes burned with predatory intelligence. This was no simple animal, it was the mountain's apex predator, ruler of a domain that had never known successful challenge. But Tobias had been expecting this moment. His role carried him behind a defensive position, his rifle coming up in one smooth motion. He had tracked the creature for 6 hours, learning its habits, understanding its territory, reading the story of its life written in tracks and territorial markers. The perfect shot. The crystal bear charged, its massive frame moving with surprising speed across the uneven terrain. Its roar echoed off the mountain walls, a sound of absolute dominance that had probably never been successfully challenged. Tobias waited. 1 breath. 2 breaths. The creature closed to 30 meters, 20, 15. In the final moment before impact, he fired a single shot. The bullet took the crystal bear through the left eye, angling upward to penetrate the brain stem. The massive predator's charge carried it forward another 3 meters before it collapsed, its body sliding to rest just inches from Tobias's position. Precision over power. The silence that followed was profound. After hours of alien weapons discharging energy that could level buildings, the mountain had been conquered by a single, precisely placed bullet from a rifle that most galactic species would consider primitive. Tobias stood slowly, his rifle still trained on the fallen predator until he was certain of its death. Only then did he activate his comm unit. Base camp, this is Kane. Target acquired and eliminated. 1 adult crystal bear, approximately 800 pounds. Clean kill, no secondary shots required. Alien disbelief. The comm channels erupted with confused chatter as alien sensors finally detected the massive life sign that had just ceased to exist. Their advanced technology had been scanning the same mountainside for hours without success, while a single human had tracked, located, and eliminated the target they couldn't even find. Impossible, transmitted the Valkyrie hunter captain. Our sensors show no human energy signatures in that sector. How did you achieve target acquisition without detection equipment? Tobias shouldered his rifle and began the careful work of field dressing his kill. Same way my ancestors tracked mammoths across the Ice Age, Captain. We learned to read the land, understand our prey, and wait for the right moment. The ancient skill. High Counselor Vextai's voice carried bewilderment across the communication networks. But human, your species abandoned such primitive methods millennia ago. Surely you use technological enhancement for tracking? Technology's useful, Tobias admitted, working with practiced efficiency to prepare his trophy, but it can't replace understanding. That crystal bear had been watching your hunting parties all morning. It knew exactly where each of you were, what weapons you carried, and how you moved. Your sensors never detected it because it didn't want to be detected. He paused in his work, looking out over the valley where alien hunters continued their fruitless search with increasingly desperate technological deployment. The teacher's lesson. The difference, Tobias continued, is that it saw your technology as something foreign to its environment. Threats to be avoided or challenges to be met directly. But when I tracked it using methods older than civilization, I became part of its world. Another predator moving through its territory according to rules it understood. The crystal bear had died not because human technology was superior, but because human hunters still remembered how to think like predators rather than rely solely on mechanical advantage. Silence returns. As Tobias completed his field work and began the trek back to base camp, the mountain settled into natural quiet. The alien hunting parties continued their electronic searching, but the forest's remaining inhabitants had learned to avoid the areas where energy weapons discharged and sensors swept in mechanical patterns. Only in the path of the silent human did normal life gradually resume, as if the mountain recognized the passage of a hunter who belonged to its ancient rhythms. The Great Hunting Exhibition was teaching the galaxy that sometimes the oldest methods were still the most effective.